What's going on? It's Anthony Baptiste, Instagram Tone Legacy. That's TONELEGACY. Just want to give you guys an update. Some of you guys probably already heard already. I was just granted parole. So on October 21st, had my parole hearing, and on the 30th, they gave me my decision and said I was granted. So my release date is now February 18th, 2026, on a sentence that I was sentenced to 15 years to life. So basically got to do 10 years out of that. So to bring it back for anyone that doesn't know the history behind that, February 24th, 2016, I was locked up. 18 months later, went to trial, was sentenced to 51 years to life as a first-time offender for nonviolent drug crimes. In my trial, I only had law enforcement testify against me. On law enforcement personnel, there was no confidential informant, no other people that testified besides an undercover that said I was selling drugs. They had over like 10 detectives, all basically saying that they never seen no money or no drugs in any transactions, but hey, we're here, right? I was landed 51 years to life. Just to get back on the parole thing, just want to let you guys see something. So this right here is my parole packet. Now, just in case if you have anyone that you know that's incarcerated, please tell them to take this serious. You know, they don't assume that they're just gonna grant you parole. They wanna actually see you put some effort in. You know, for the most part, some people, they get by without doing anything, don't think that person is gonna be you. So this right here, how pretty that it looks, costs about $8 at Staples to make happen, you know? So if you could help the person out, if you know someone that's inside, please, your assistance is definitely appreciated. Okay, so you can see I just have a cover letter. I put a little before and after picture, just to, you know, things to kind of show what I've been doing while incarcerated. My before and after picture. You guys don't know how I looked then, what's going on now. And yeah, I put my certificates, letters of support. So I stayed active while incarcerated. You know, definitely didn't waste no time. And they'll see it with the stuff that you do. Just want to give a special shout out to everyone who gave me letters of support, not just for the parole, but even the letters from when I got sentenced in. So back in 2017, 18, you know who you guys are. Appreciate those letters. They've seen all those letters as well. So thank you for that. So I want to give you guys a current event, also what's going on. So I've been also working, as some of you guys know, on actually proving that I was wrongfully convicted. So give you a little recap on that. In January, I received about 4,000 pages through something called a FOIA request. 4,000 pages of documents on my case. And in there, after going through it, it basically is evidence that shows that evidence from an unrelated case was introduced to the grand jury in my trial, which led to me being indicted. It sounds crazy, but the evidence shows it. There's actually ex parte motions, which means motions that I wasn't involved in or had any representation, that they actually was presenting information to the courts stating that there's unrelated matters. And in a nutshell, what it was is because the amount of money that was seized was more than the amount of money that they had permission to take. So initially they said that they assumed that this investigation made a certain amount of money, and after they actually committed the seizures, they found almost twice that much. So then they had to find a way to legally give themselves, or to make it look that they're legally seizing that money. And the only way they could have thought of doing that was going back to the court with an ex parte motion and stating that, oh, they found more evidence that ties me to some other people. So no, that first amount that they found is not the real amount. It's actually twice that amount. And basically they had, and that for that reason, this case had to be a major drug trafficking case. So for anyone that was assuming, no, it's not freaking, they found 100 bricks, nothing like that. This ain't El Chapo, this ain't Big Meech. No, not trying to say nothing like that, not trying to claim that the case was nothing crazy like that. But that's what's going on. It's a large amount of money, and that's all that this is all about. So this is basically one motion. It just kind of like lets you see what the motion look like. So all this, like, really from just being in the law library, you know, just hit and miss. It took me about, just to get one yes, I had to go through about 20 no's. You know, just don't give up. Just keep on putting the motions out there. Everything was done clean, you know. Even how I got my sentence reduced, that was another motion called a 440.20. And that basically, you know, my sentence was 51 years to life. You know, looking at some issues with the sentencing, I submitted a motion that basically showed how all the charges were supposed to run concurrent. And the DA conceded, and it led to my sentence being reduced to 15 years to life, nonviolent drug charge, made me eligible for my merit. You know, I wasn't in there acting crazy, bugging out. You know, if you know anyone in Greenhaven or Clinton, they know my routine, law library and the weight shack, you know? That's what it was. There's 1,000 people that could tell you how I was day in, day out, and every story is gonna be the same. You know, focused, motivated, and determined. That's all you're gonna hear from everybody that knew me while incarcerated and prior to. And yeah, so I just wanna give you guys that update. This is where we at right now. Appreciate the support, appreciate the shout outs, appreciate everything. And like I said, if there's anyone out there, you know, could use some assistance, trust me. I mean, that's incarcerated that could use some assistance. Just help them out. You know, the Balenciagas could wait. You know, you need to let them, motivate them to go in that law library. You know, if you're gonna spend some money on something, spend that on photocopies. You know, spend that on some certified mail return receipts. You know what I mean? Like, motivate them to do that. You know, the snacks in the package, all that's cute. Nah, spend your money a different way. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get out of prison, motivate them to get out. And that's about it right now. And appreciate you guys, and keep you guys updated on everything. See what the future got to hold. And see you soon.